Hello everybody, Joel Tadman here from Golf Monthly, and as you can see in front of me I have all three of the new Callaway Epic drivers for 2021. I've got the Epic Speed, the Epic Max LS and the Epic Max. In this video I'm going to be diving into the differences between the three and also the technology that they share that Callaway say will help elevate the performance from the prior generation, and also see how they compare to Mavrik as well. So make sure you watch right to the end to find out which driver might be right for you. So the big talking point in terms of the redesign of this head comes from the Jailbreak Technology, which we've seen from previous generations comprise two metal bars that attach essentially the top and bottom of the head together to really stiffen the body, give you more support there, impact, better energy transfer, more distance. But Callaway, using artificial intelligence, have come up with a new design for the Jailbreak, so it's called the Jailbreak Speed frame. So rather than having two bars, it's actually more of a square shape and actually connects to the top and bottom of the head in 4 different places. So that is essentially allowing the face to have more support, not only in the vertical direction but also in the horizontal direction as well. So it's 5% more efficient than the previous version, so you should get more ball speed on consistently higher on a wider area. The carbon fibre crown itself has also been made an awful lot lighter, 18 grams lighter, which has allowed them to move mass around in the head to make it a bit more forgiving. The first model in the Epic range is the Epic Speed. Now you'll notice this has that cyclone shape that we saw in Mavrik. Essentially it allows you to increase your clubhead speed while applying the same amount of effort versus drivers that don't have this shape. It's a little bit flatter on the top than the previous Epic drivers we've seen, the Epic Flash. And this driver has a bit more forgiveness built in versus Mavrik, and also the same amount of draw bias. So it should have a similar ball flight but just be a little bit more stable on those off-centre hits. Next up we have the Epic Max LS, LS standing for low spin. So this is the better player driver for golfers who are looking to knock some spin off their drives for distance without losing out on forgiveness. And this is actually more forgiving than the Mavrik Sub-Zero, which we saw last year. And you'll notice that it does have a 13-gram sliding weight here in the back of the head to adjust shot shape by up to 14 yards depending on your preference. And this is the most fade capable driver of the three models. Then finally we have the Epic Max. Now this is the most forgiving Epic driver Callaway has ever made. That's down in part to this 17-gram sliding weight, so a little bit heavier than the Epic Max LS, offering up to 16 yards of shot shape correction in draw or fade. And this is the most draw biased driver of the three in terms of its capabilities when you factor in the sliding weight and also the draw settings on the hosel. Means you can get up to 20 yards of draw bias on this club versus the others. So if you're a slicer of the golf ball looking for maximum forgiveness, this is the one to go for. So I've got all three drivers here in the playing position, and it's interesting really that the Epic Max LS is the driver for the better player, because it's the Epic Speed that has much more of a better player profile. It's got much smaller look behind the ball, looks like it's got a deeper face. And the Epic Max LS in comparison is a bit more stretched out, but then you move into the Epic Max and that's even more stretched out. So clearly the Epic Max is going to be designed for those golfers that are using a lot of the face, maximum forgiveness on offer. And then the lower handicapper's got a choice between the Epic Speed and the Epic Max LS. And those are the two drivers that I really focused on. Okay, so I've got the numbers here from Foresight Sports GCQuad testing indoors using Titleist Pro X golf balls, and luckily ahead of my testing session Callaway were able to send me their OptiFit fitting kit, so I was able to try all the different stock shafts if I wanted to that were on offer this year. And the one that performed best for me was the Mitsubishi MMT 16 extra stiff, which I've got here, and testing in 9 degrees. As I said, I was focusing really on the Epic Speed and the Epic Max LS. You'll notice in the same loft, what was interesting was that I was getting much more clubhead speed with the Epic Speed. So while I wasn't getting any more from the cyclone shape in Mavrik when I was testing them last year, I actually did get around about 2 to 2.5 miles an hour more clubhead speed with that cyclone shape with Epic Speed than I did versus the Epic Max LS. And that did translate into marginally more ball speed as well. You'll notice, in that same loft, launch angle was fairly similar. But the Epic Max LS, as the name suggests, is delivering low spin. It's around about 300 RPM less spin, and as a result I did get slightly longer carries in like for like loft, and the Epic Speed is flying a lot higher for me. And I think you know, if I loft down to 8 degrees, which I did, you'll notice the carry distance matched where I was with the Epic Max LS. So not a whole lot in it between the two drivers. I did also test the Epic Max, but you'll see from the numbers in 9.5 degrees of loft, I had a 10.5 head. It was spinning a little bit too much for me. So while the ball speed was very good, that spin was a little bit too high, and as a result the carries weren't as long as the other two drivers. But there will be golfers who need that extra spin to keep the ball in the air to maximise distance for them. So definitely worth trying if that's for you. But so we've got the numbers here. Initial impressions are not much between them. Actually, the performance generally was very, very good with these drivers, comparable and exceeding in some cases other drivers on the market. So impressive initial first impressions. But let's take them to the golf course, hit some shots with them, see they fly and perform and feel in a real world environment to really understand what these drivers are all about. So I've already hit a load of shots with both the Epic Speed and the Epic Max LS. Just want to show it to you. Hopefully you can detect from the microphone the differences in the sound of these drivers. So this is the Epic Speed. I'd say, lovely straight ball flight, has quite a high pitch sound to it. Not quite as high pitch as it was with Epic Flash, but relatively similar. And then if we switch to the Epic Max LS, I think what you will notice is, I would say, it's more of a thud sound to it, so slightly lower pitch, and actually a sound and feel that I definitely prefer versus the Epic Speed. Oh, that's a lovely shot as well, straight down the middle. I mean, between the two drivers, you know, I've hit them here, I've hit them at the Belfry, tested them side by side, and actually not a whole lot difference in performance. I found them to be both to be very straight, but I do feel like the option of that sliding weight in the Epic Max LS for someone who draws the ball quite significantly, while this is set in neutral, I feel like actually if I moved it slightly towards the toe, I could get a bit more consistency out of the ball flight, and also just matching up with my slight toe impact tendencies as well. So obviously you haven't got the option of that with the Epic Speed, but it's a tough one because the Epic Speed is giving me a lot more clubhead speed, and I think on centered hits out on the course, the extra clubhead speed will translate into more distance. So in summary, I've been really impressed with these Callaway Epic drivers. I think they look great and they feel absolutely fantastic. Not just out in the middle, but also in those slight heel and toe hits. I think Callaway have done a great job of improving the acoustics and also the consistency of the performance across the face. I think you'll notice, even in the low spin offering, a surprising level of forgiveness, and that just adds to the playability out on the golf course. We all want a driver that has, you know, low spin, that's going to give us really good distance on those centered hits, but we want one that's going to be playable and forgiving on those off center hits. And I'd say all three of these drivers actually deliver that. The Epic Max in particular, if you utilize a lot of the club face, you know, this driver is going to deliver that extra level of stability versus the other two. But for me, these are the drivers, I think, the Epic Speed and the Epic Max LS, that the majority of golfers will gravitate towards because of how fast they are and how surprisingly forgiving they are for relatively low spin offerings. So that's you know, this is a difficult conversation or a difficult thought process to go through in terms of which one is best for you. Epic Speed delivering more speed for me, but the Epic Max LS arguably slightly better feeling, and also that sliding weight I think will help a lot of golfers in straightening out their ball flight. So this is probably the one I would go towards, slightly over the Epic Speed, just because I think over time I'm going to be able to find a few more fairways with this driver, and I prefer that slightly more stretched out look. It's not massive, it's not clunky by any means down at address, but yeah, this Epic Speed is relatively small down behind the ball. I think, you know, over time, if I'm not swinging it well, it might be a bit intimidating. So I think Epic Max LS is probably the one I'm going to go for, but the Epic Speed pushed it definitely all the way. Hopefully this video has given you a good idea as to kind of the differences in between the Epic Speed drivers and the Epic Max drivers. Definitely an improvement on Mavrik for me in terms of the visuals and also just the offerings. I think the three heads, there's greater differentiation there, and I think you're either going to sit in one of the three camps in terms of the way you swing the golf club, and there'll definitely be a one for you that will outperform what you currently play, maybe only by a few yards, but I think when you factor in a few extra fairways as well, definitely worth that £499 price tag that these come in. Give them a try. Let me know how you get on in the comments below, which model is best for your game. Comment on this video, was it useful in your search for a new driver for 2021. I'd love to hear from you. But that's all for me from Burley Park Golf Club. I'll see you next time.